and we landed on the beach here at 7:25 a.m. There were wooden obstacles across the beach which had bombs on them, and as we advanced, the ships came in, we had to miss that and then come up the beach, and the troops were opening fire at us from the pillboxes, and the casualties was terrific. Men were being killed everywhere. We tried to bury ourselves in the sand to hide up from it, and I was company runner on that day, on that morning, and my job was to run up the beach and give messages to all the different platoons. And at a certain time, we all got up and charged up the top here. Pillbox was just over there, and that was knocked out. And then we had to go along and find all the gun emplacements, and they were all firing down on the beach at the ships, and that took us the most of the day till about 4:30 before we finally got through, and there was no more guns firing at us, and that finished that day.
That was, I think, Red Zone. It's Gold Beach Red Zone. That's where we had to head for.
Okay.
And I would, hard to say, but I would say that where our ship pulled in was just about where we're standing now. And of course the Mulberry Harbour wasn't here then, it was open sea.
Right. What was the scene at that time then? Was it full of soldiers?
Oh yeah, what time we was there that fighting was going on, but
Yeah.
it seemed to be over this way a bit, and that cliff there seemed to kept us out of the way.
The briefing was absolutely perfect. You had little models of absolutely everything. Model of the pillbox, model of all the gun emplacements, the exact location. It was because of that they put the American guards all around us and barbed wires, because we knew too much. We knew exactly what our job was, what we had to do, and we knew where it was. And they weren't satisfied with that, still thinking that if we really were so desperate to get out, we'd get underneath the wire or cut it or get out, that they took us out of Southampton on the 30th of May, a full week before the actual invasion, which at that time was planned for June the 5th. But they took us away on the 30th of May to get us out to sea and safe from any danger of any leakage of information, because that would have been terrible if somebody had gone down the pub, had a few drinks too many, and then proudly says, "I'm going on the invasion next week."
I know they show the pictures of it from time to time of along the south coast, but as I said, what happened, we were in London, and then we moved to the golf course at Windsor, the big one.
Wentworth, is it?
Wentworth. We moved there under canvas, but they caught a spy there, and this guy was the man who running the NAFI there, and he had stolen or whatever an army vehicle, and it's full of photographs. That was going to be the HQ for Eisenhower when he come to the clubhouse, and there's all tunnels and that underneath it. And anyway, as far as we know, they took him to prison somewhere and executed him. And we were moved back to London immediately, and a few days later a row of small houses, or big houses, on the golf course were bombed, and a couple of families got wiped out. So we went there, and then we come down to Waterlooville near Portsmouth, and we had a big house there with some grounds, and that was nice. So from there we did a lot of the setting up, like as they brought in all of like Eisenhower and then all of the people, it's like you're moving the War Office down there, and there's all these Bedford caravans, and they had to be set up and blocked up and everything else, and the rooms for them, and different people. I mean, every department of the army had a place there, and it was. It's hard to explain it, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
You heard about all these people, and you never knew them. But they all had a job to do in a department, and while they weren't doing anything, if there was a problem, yes, you go grab your rifle and you went with the rest of them, didn't you? You know.
On the 19th of June 1944, as a platoon of the Dorset Regiment 1st Battalion was advancing across Normandy, we came to a sunken lane coming off the field onto it, and as we turned on the lane, round the next corner came a Tiger German tank. Now, infantry are not too happy at getting that close quarters to a tank, and the whole of the platoon dived into the ditches at the side of the road, except for Ted Bridgman, who was our anti-tank gunner man. He raised his anti-tank gun at the German tank, and at that moment the Germans fired their machine gun at him straight through his head. Undoubtedly his action saved us, because we could all have been machine gunned if they hadn't spotted that he was the anti-tank man. And then, not knowing whether there was another anti-tank gun amongst those of us in the ditch, the Tiger tank swiveled round and turned away quickly and went. He gave his life for us.
Well, it's been a fascinating morning, really. It's been a long morning, but we've got a lot done. We got straight off the ferry and went and found Gold Beach straight away, which is where the two guys landed 65 years ago. So that was quite an emotional moment for both of them, I think, to be back there and to see the actual points where they came ashore and where they fought their way up through the beaches. And then we visited the D-Day Museum at Arromanches, where both guys were like celebrities to the people there. The French people have got this incredibly open affection towards the veterans, and it's fascinating to see it. As soon as they see the medals on the chests of Albert and Michael, they're straight over, they're taking pictures, they're asking if they can have their pictures taken with them, asking for autographs even. I think it just shows you, I think sometimes you forget how much of a liberation this was for the French people, and how closely they hold that to their hearts, and how grateful they are to the fact that these young lads, and they were young lads at the time, they came over and they risked their lives, and they put that kind of effort in to liberate mainland Europe.
Righty Dan, I would like to offer you this.
Thank you very much.
Just in the memory of what you've done for us. It's not a lot, it's just a little gift. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
It's always a pleasure to come back here.
Right.
Everybody's so nice.
Good then, good to hear
We
that.
think we've got good friends.
All right, yeah.
I think it was fairly late in the afternoon that we came here, and really we had just a field to park up in, and
Could have just been here, really.
we were, there was a brickworks, and we were allowed to use that, and it wasn't a very big building, but the lady was a little bit indifferent to them, really, and she caused a bit of trouble in a way with us. She found that there's somebody who had done a toilet in the brickworks, and she went and reported to our major that it was us, and it turned out it wasn't, it was the Germans when they'd been here. But oh dear, our major made quite a thing out of it, you know, and marched us through, and I was right, look at that, somebody did that, you know, and we were glad to get out of it.
Takes you back into history.
It was all little bits, we were all little cogs, weren't they, in the wheel.
Well, that was it. It was the whole of the Normandy veterans all had their job to do, no matter what they were. Whether they were infantry, attack HQ,
and we just did it, didn't we?
Water boys.
Yeah. This is a return to the Chateau Cruel, and this was the second place that we had with the 21st Army Group HQ with Field Marshal Montgomery, and we were based here while the battle for Caen was going on. We didn't use the chateau at all. The Field Marshal, he had his comfortable caravan truck, and he slept in that and kept to himself, and so did we, but we had chance to bring up to date the vehicles that we had, so everything was in good working order. But it was a lovely place, and I have been back here several times in a nice town. In fact, I was here recently. They were putting together the fact that this was a film to show that this was the first place in the Second World War that they released all the photos of the landings of the beach to the world. And but there isn't much notice about. I think there is a little plaque on the wall now that of the history. But it's a nice little town, and the people are very nice.
Yeah, well, day two's been just as interesting as day one, really. We started the day by driving up to Hill 112, which is a hill on the edge of Caen, where a lot of Wiltshire troops lost their lives in the Battle for Normandy. This was a few weeks after D-Day, as they tried to make their way up through Normandy. This was one of the major kind of battlegrounds where the Germans said if they manage to beat us here, they'll win the war, and eventually they did. But it was a fairly bloody battle. After that, we moved on and we visited the two places where Albert was based, with General Montgomery in the TAC HQ. The first place that Montgomery was after D-Day was a tiny little place called Blay, and he took us along and he showed us where Montgomery would have had his caravan, just basically a field these days, but at that time that was the HQ for the Battle of Normandy. And then we moved further on down into Normandy to a place called Chateau Cruel, which was Montgomery's second HQ. And again, Albert was able to show us exactly where Montgomery would have stayed, exactly where he was 65 years ago, and we went and had a look at the chateau there. Then we moved back towards the beaches. We had a look at Omaha Beach, which was one of the American beaches where there's a massive loss of life. You know, we saw the American cemetery just up the road from the beach, where there's just row after row after row of American graves. And much like yesterday, Albert and Michael became celebrities in their own right when they arrived at the cemetery. The local school children descended upon them. They're asking for autographs. They were having the pictures taken, and they're asking all about the war. So the two guys spent best part of half an hour just talking to school children, giving a little impromptu lecture, which was great.